Welcome back. You're watching T10 News. I'm Pakshi Khurana, and on to some business news now. The International Monetary Fund delegation led by Senior Mission Chief Peter Brio is in Sri Lanka to assess economic policies, progress on ongoing reforms and the implementation of previous agreements with the IMF. The team met Sri Lankan President, the Sanayake and key ministers of the newly formed government at the Presidential Secretariat today to discuss the next steps in the IMF program. President Sanayake urged the IMF to maintain a balanced approach that considers the hardships faced by citizens. He assured that under his leadership, social spending allocations would be utilized effectively, with priority given to combating child poverty and malnutrition and providing better support for differently abled children. Upon successful completion of the review, the global lender is expected to release the next installment of the loan worth $330 million to Sri Lanka. And for more, we have Dr. Ahmed Faruqi joining us. Ahmed, IMF delegation met Sri Lankan President and requested the IMF to maintain the much required balanced approach. What's the latest and what are the next steps likely to be there for the IMF program?
Well, actually, a very good morning to all of our viewers across the world. Yes, you see, the IMF team is here in Sri Lanka till later this Saturday as well. The IMF team met the president as well as key ministers who were sworn in yesterday, and thereafter they also met the officials from the central bank. They're also meeting officials of the central bank today as well. They are discussing ways and means to go ahead with the IMF program and somehow manage to find ways for the government to raise revenues in manners which are apart from raising the taxation levels. We remember that in 2023 March, the IMF's executive board had approved the $2.9 billion financing package, that is the extended fund facility, that will be available to Sri Lanka over a 48-month period. In tranches, it will be disbursed to Sri Lanka. However, it required that the government had to raise a certain amount of revenue through taxation and various other reforms by adopting cost-reflective strategies. That was the reason why the previous government under Ranil Wickremesinghe as the president had raised the taxation levels of personal income tax as well as the indirect taxes, and also had imposed higher tariff levels on various utilities like electricity, fuel, and various other things. Now, the new government has had promised during the election campaign that they will rework the IMF agreement, and by saying that they had meant that the austerity measures which were imposed by the previous government will be relaxed. The tax rates will be reduced and fuel rates will also be made cheaper. Now, that was the promise. However, immediately after assuming office, President Sanayake had said that his government will continue the IMF agreement. However, they will find ways to alleviate the troubles of the people. And this is where the IMF's current team will be discussing with the government officials in Sri Lanka. And that will be very crucial to complete the review and thereafter secure the next tranche, the third tranche, the fourth tranche of $330 million from IMF.
All right. Dr. Faruqi, after reworking the various policies, as you're mentioning, will the coordinated effort between the government and the IMF lead towards economic recovery and, most importantly, the long-term stability?
Stability-wise, yes, Repakshi, you see, from the peak of the economic crisis that Sri Lanka witnessed in 2022 to now, stability to some extent has been achieved. And a lot of credit to this goes to the policies that were adopted by the central bank as well as the government led by former President Ranil Wickremesinghe. However, you know, the reality is that the debt still exists. More than $50 billion of debt needs to be repaid, and that has to be done after 2029. Till 2028, there is a moratorium. That is, the government will not have to pay any debt till 2028. However, the final agreement between the ISB holders and the bilaterals is yet to be secured. And once that happens, thereafter the restructuring of the debt will be deemed as complete, and that will be the most important challenge for Sri Lanka. Once that is sorted out and ways and means are achieved to increase the growth of Sri Lankan economy, then Sri Lanka can be considered as on the path of economic recovery.
All right, Dr. Faruqi, thank you so much for giving us all those details from